Nigeria urges AU to intensify crackdown on terror financing. Senate expands Safe School probe, extend timeline. High Court sentenced 2 to death for rape and murder of teenager. NSCDC secures life sentence for sex offender in KWARA. In business, Japan commits $1 million to train 2,000 Nigerian teachers in digital skills. Plus, U.S. signs landmark civilian nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia. Hello and welcome. This is Security News Panorama here in Third Eye Africa Television. I am Juliet Ora. Glad to have you join us here. Let's take you through details of our stories. Nigeria has urged the African Union Peace and Security Council to strengthen the effort to curb illicit financial flows, describing them as key source of funding for terrorism and violent extremism across Africa. Speaking at the AU Peace and Security Council's 135th ministerial meeting, Foreign Affairs Minister Bianca Odumegwu said terrorist groups continue to exploit illicit financing, kidnapping for ransom, illegal mining, and emerging technologies, including drones, to sustain their operations. She called for stronger international cooperation to trace, recover, and repatriate illicit funds, while urging African countries to implement commitments made at previous Continental Counterterrorism Summit. Odumegwu also warned against portraying Africa as the global epicenter of terrorism, saying such narrative could unfairly stigmatize innocent Africans. The minister reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to a comprehensive counterterrorism strategy, combining military operation, intelligence sharing, regional cooperation, de-radicalization programs, and community-based initiatives. She also advocated enhanced cybersecurity, stronger early warning systems, disruptions of terrorist financing networks, and tighter controls to prevent non-state actors from acquiring sophisticated weapons. Moving on, police operatives have arrested 2 suspected armed robbers allegedly involved in a series of robbery operations, recovering 3 toy guns believed to have been used to intimidate and dispossess victims. The suspects were apprehended during an intelligence-led operation after security agency tracked their movement and uncovered their activities. The police say a preliminary investigation revealed that the suspect allegedly used the toy guns to create the impression that they were carrying real firearms during robbery attacks. The recovered exhibits have been taken into custody while investigations are ongoing to determine the suspect involvement in other criminal activities and identify additional members of the robbery syndicate who remain at large. The police reaffirmed their commitment to tackling armed robbery and other violent crimes through intelligence-driven operations. The command urged members of the public to remain vigilant and continue providing timely and credible information to security agencies, assuring that all those involved in criminal activities will be apprehended and brought to justice. Still coming from the police operatives have arrested 3 suspected court members during a targeted operation that led to the recovery of 9 assaulted firearms and other dangerous weapons. The intelligence-led operation was carried out as part of ongoing effort to combat cultism and violent crimes, with officers recovering the weapons from the suspects during the raid. The police said the recovered exhibits include various firearms and other dangerous weapons believed to have been used by the suspect in carrying out criminal activities. The suspects are currently in custody and are being assisted investigators with information aimed at identifying and arresting other members of the criminal network as investigations continue. The police reaffirmed their commitment to sustaining aggressive operations against cultism and robbery, attack, and other criminal violence activities across the country. The force also urged members of the public to remain vigilant and continue providing timely, credible, and intelligence to support ongoing efforts to improve public safety and security. In Nasarawa State, Police Command said it has rescued 4 kidnapped victims following a swift tactical operation that foiled an attempted abduction in Andaha community, Akwanga local government area. According to the command, armed kidnappers invaded the community and attempted to whisk away the victims before police operative responded promptly to a distress call and engaged the criminals, forcing them to abandon the victim and flee into surrounding bush. The Commissioner of Police has ordered an initiative, a manhunt, intensive manhunt for the fleeing suspect, directly tactical teams and other security operatives to sustain search operations until those responsible are apprehended and brought to justice. The rescued victims were successfully reunited with their families after receiving necessary attention following the incident. The Nasarawa State Police Command reaffirmed its commitment to protecting lives and properties across the state and urged residents to remain vigilant and provide timely and credible information to security agencies. The command assured the public that ongoing intelligence-led operation would continue to target criminal elements and improve security across the state. From the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC has recovered 2 suspected stolen vehicles through its National Vehicle Identification Scheme and handed over the suspect to the Nigerian Police Force for further investigation. The Corps said the recoveries highlight the effectiveness of its vehicle verification system in detecting stolen vehicles and supporting efforts to combat vehicle-related crimes across the country. FRSC said the first vehicle, a Toyota Highlander, was presented for verification at the NVIS office in Benin by officials of the Edo State Internal Revenue Service alongside a suspect. During the verification process, officers discovered discrepancies in the vehicle's registration details. Further checks using the vehicle identification number confirmed that the vehicle had been reportedly stolen in Lagos since June 2025. A second suspected stolen vehicle was also recovered during related operations, with the suspect immediately handed over to the police for comprehensive investigation and possible prosecution. The Corps reiterated its commitment to supporting law enforcement agencies in the fight against vehicle theft and other related crimes through technology-driven verification system. It also urged members of the public to always verify vehicle ownership and registration details before purchasing used vehicles to avoid becoming victims of fraud or criminal activities. The Rivers State Police Command has launched a full-scale investigation following the brutal murder of a local security commander and 3 women in Omuku, Oba, Ebama, Ndoni local government area. The attack, suspected to be a targeted assassination by armed cultists, has sparked widespread tension and economic shutdown across the community. Official reports said Ozemela Stephen Nwocha, the zonal commander of the local security outfit, or SPAC, was relaxing outside his residence alongside Oba Road when heavily armed gunmen stormed the area. The assailant opened fire, killing Commander Nwocha, his sister, and 2 female acquaintances on the spot. 2 other bystanders sustained critical gunshot wounds during the assault and are currently receiving emergency medical treatment. The attack is believed to be linked to a reprisal following violent clashes earlier in that day involving local rival groups. State Police spokesperson ASP Blessing Agabe strongly condemned the killing, assuring the public that security forces are actively pursuing the perpetrators. Meanwhile, local market and businesses in Omoku remain closed as security agencies step up patrols to restore order and prevent further violence. Still talking security, troops of the Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fisanyama have rescued 27 kidnapped victims for the multiple abduction attempt and recovered rustled livestock and motorcycles during coordinated counter-terrorism operation in Sokoto and Zamfara State. The operation, conducted between July 20th and 21st, were based on credible intelligence and forms part of military's sustained offensive against terrorists and bandit groups operating across the northwest. In Sokoto State, troops of forward operating base in Shagari and Shifawa stormed terrorist hideouts in Wanke and KWARA, communities after report of criminal activities. The troops engaged the terrorists in a fierce gun battle, forcing them to flee under heavy military firepower. The operation led to the rescue of 6 kidnapped victims, while rustled livestock and 2 motorcycles were also recovered. In a separate operation in Raba local government area, troops rescued 10 victims, including men, women, and children who were found wandering in the bush after escaping from their captors. They were later reunited with their families through community leaders. Meanwhile, in Zamfara State, troops of Combat Team 12 swiftly responded to a distress call after terrorists blocked the Gumi-Sokoto highway in an attempt to abduct commuters. The soldiers engaged the attackers and pursued them into the surrounding areas, successfully rescuing 11 kidnapped victims and recovering motorcycles. Operation Fasanyama reaffirmed its commitment to sustaining intelligence-led operations aimed at dismantling terrorist attacks and their networks, protecting communities and restoring peace across the Northwest. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC KWARA State Command, has secured a life imprisonment sentence for a sexual convict offender as part of its effort to combat gender-based violence and protect vulnerable members of society. The command disclosed that the conviction was among several achievements recorded by the gender unit in the first half of 2026, reflecting intensive effort against rape, defilement, child molestation, and other related offences. The head of the gender unit, Chief Superintendent of the Corps, Dada Toyi, said the command handled more than 100 gender-related cases between January and June 2026. This includes domestic violence, child abandonment, child custody dispute, abduction, rape, sexual assault, and child molestation. She revealed that several cases were successfully resolved through mediation, while others remained before competent court for prosecution. The NSCDC commended the dedication of its officer in addressing gender-based offences and urged members of the public to promptly report cases of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and child exploitation. The command reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring justice for victims and strengthening the protection of women, children, and other vulnerable groups across KWARA State. The Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, KB State Sector Command has impounded 39 vehicles for various traffic offences during a special enforcement operation aimed at improving compliance with road safety regulations. The operation targets dangerous violations, including route violation, overloading, mixed loading, tire-related offences, and other traffic infractions capable of causing fatal road crashes. Speaking in Birnin KB, the sector commander, Rukaya Zakaria, said the exercise codenamed Dia Tai Lodi and Lodi Limit is being conducted simultaneously across the command's 7 operational units in collaboration with the Nigerian Police Force and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. She explained that the operation is designed to strengthen compliance with traffic laws, reduce road crashes, and safeguard the lives of motorists and other road users. The FRSC urged motorists to obey traffic regulation by avoiding overloading, speeding, and other unsafe driving practices while ensuring that their vehicles are roadworthy before embarking on any journey. The Corps reaffirmed its commitment to sustain enforcement operations to promote safer highways and reduce avoidable road traffic crashes across the country. The ICPC, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, says it has uncovered 908 fake workers across several federal ministries, departments, and agencies during an ongoing payroll verification exercise. According to the Commission, the Nigerian Police Force recorded the highest number of the irregular entries among the affected institutions, while the exercise has so far led to the recovery of 942 million naira in salaries wrongly paid to ghost workers. The Anti-Corruption Agency explained that the discovery was made through its system study and review, as well as payroll monitoring mechanism designed to eliminate fraud and improve accountability in the public service. The Commission noted that investigations are continuing to identify those responsible for inserting the fictitious names into government payrolls, adding that those found culpable will be prosecuted in accordance with the law. The ICPC has reaffirmed its commitment to sensitizing the public service by eliminating payroll fraud and other corrupt practices that undermine efficient service delivery. The Commission also called on public institutions to strengthen internal control system and ensure greater transparency in personnel and payroll management to prevent further and future abuses. The National Information Technology Development Agency, NIGERIAN, has raised an alarm that fragmented cybersecurity defense across the federal ministries, departments, and agencies leaves Nigeria's digital infrastructure vulnerable to sophisticated cyber attacks, citing economic losses extending $3 billion over recent years. The agency called for a unified national defense framework to safeguard critical government systems. Speaking at a two-day workshop titled Securing Government Digital Infrastructure Through Capacity Building, NIGERIAN Director General Kashifu Inua, represented by Assistant Director of Cybersecurity, Dr. Ayodele Bakere, warned that the threat actors have evolved beyond lone opportunists into organized, well-funded syndicates, highlighting data from the Daily Nigerian Cybersecurity Outlook 2026, the United Nations Office on Drones and Crime. The agency noted that Nigeria ranks among Africa's top 3 most targeted countries, with public platforms frequently suffering ransomware, data exfiltration, and website defacement. NIGERIAN emphasized that because government systems are deeply interconnected, a security breach in a single agency creates an immediate doorway into others. To mitigate this systemic risk, the agency urged public sector institutions to build a strong human firewall, enforce rigorous risk management practices, and align with NIGERIAN's computer emergency readiness and response team. During the session, participants also reviewed NIGERIAN's draft regulatory framework for government information security management, aiming to establish synchronized defense protocol across all public digital assets. 2 suspected senior commanders of the terrorist group Ansarul this week pleaded guilty to 32 terrorism-related charges before the Federal High Court in Abuja. The defendant, Mahmoud Usman, also known as Abu Bara, and Abubakar Abba, also known as Mahmoud Al-Nigri, admitted their roles after changing their earlier not guilty plea during proceedings initiated by the Department of State Services. Following their guilty plea, the court convicted both men and sentenced them to life imprisonment. The sentence has sparked mixed reaction, with many Nigerians arguing that life imprisonment is too lenient considering the gravity of the offense and the impact of their alleged actions. Correspondent Saadatu Suleiman Kamba has more report.
The charges against the 2 men include terrorism, kidnapping, conspiracy, and other offenses linked to a series of violent attacks in different parts of Nigeria. Prosecutors allege that Mahmoud Usman and Abubakar Abba played key leadership roles in coordinating the activities of the extremist group. Their guilty pleas mark a significant development in the federal government's ongoing prosecution of suspected terrorist operatives, as authorities intensify efforts to dismantle violent extremist networks and hold those responsible for terrorist activities accountable. Given the gravity of terrorism offenses and their devastating impact on lives and national security, many Nigerians believe the punishment should reflect the full weight of the law. They argue that the maximum sentence ought to be imposed to serve as a strong deterrent and ensure that justice is seen to have been fully served. Reacting to the judgment, Barrister Kerekin, convener of Lawyers for Democracy, argued that justice was not fully served. He called on the National Assembly to review the Terrorism Act to make the death penalty to the maximum punishment for terrorists convicted of heinous crimes. On his part, Mr. KWARA John supported the judgment but insisted that, considering the gravity of the offences committed, the convicts deserved the death penalty. He argued that convicted terrorists who claim to have repented often return to their criminal activities and should therefore be permanently removed from society. The Department of State Services that prosecuted the case has also expressed dissatisfaction with the life sentences, describing them as inadequate considering the gravity of the offences. The agency said it would appeal the judgment, reaffirming its commitment to ensuring that individuals involved in terrorism are held fully accountable under the law. DSS said the convicts were among the senior leaders of the proscribed terrorist group and had received terrorist training outside Nigeria. It added that they were connected to several major attacks, including the 2022 Kuje Custodial Center attack and other acts of terrorism.
Thank you, Saadatu, for bringing us that report. We'll take a short breather right now. Do stay tuned as we bring you more on business. Welcome back. I am Hawa Umar and this is Business Brief. The United Kingdom's annual inflation rate dropped to 2.6% in June, down from 3.4% in May, driven largely by lower fuel prices and easing transport costs. The latest figures released by the Office for National Statistics, ONS, indicate that the decline brings inflation closer to the Bank of England's target and offers some relief to households grappling with rising cost of living. The ONS say falling petrol and diesel prices were the biggest contributors to the slowdown, although food prices and some services costs remain elevated. Economists say the latest figures could influence the Bank of England's monetary policy decisions in the coming months, particularly as policymakers continue efforts to balance inflation control with economic growth. Despite the encouraging decline, analysts have cautioned that inflationary pressures have not completely disappeared, urging continued monitoring of energy prices, wages, and global economic conditions. The UK government welcomed the development, describing it as a positive sign of progress in efforts to stabilize the economy and reduce the financial burden on businesses and consumers. In another development, the Japanese government has committed $1 million to fund a comprehensive digital capacity building program for 2,000 Nigerian teachers. The international grant aims to modernize teaching methodologies, boost digital literacy in public schools, and expand quality education access across the country. The funding initiative is being implemented in partnership with UNESCO's International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, IICBA, and the Federal Ministry of Education. Target participants drawn from selected colleges of education and secondary institutions across Nigeria will receive specialized training in digital pedagogy, e-learning, integration, and modern educational technology tools. Officials emphasize that the capacity building efforts complement Japan's recent donation of ICT equipment to 15 federal and state colleges of education. Stakeholders noted that equipping educators with critical digital skills will significantly improve classroom instruction standards, bridge the digital divide, and foster long-term educational equity, particularly for girls in underserved communities. Also, the Nigerian Naira posted noticeable gains against the British pound in the official foreign exchange market, driven by sustained liquidity interventions and the Central Bank of Nigeria's aggressive monetary tightening.
The domestic currency's appreciation reflects growing investor confidence following the CBN's resolve to maintain a hawkish stance to curb inflation and stabilize the exchange rate. Data from the foreign exchange market showed the naira firming up against the pound sterling, rebounding from previous trading pressure. Market analysts attribute the currency's upward momentum to tighter system liquidity and heightened central bank oversight across official FX windows. The CBN's persistent rate hikes and high-yield government securities have successfully attracted portfolio inflows, bolstering foreign reserves and helping absorb demand pressure for major international currencies. Official experts note that while the hawkish policy path has raised domestic borrowing costs, it remains a critical anchor for foreign exchange stability. Looking ahead, traders expect the naira to maintain a relatively stable corridor against foreign currencies like the pound and the US dollar, provided the central bank continues its strategic FX interventions and sustain its inflation targeting framework to clear pending FX backlogs. And that's it on business. Do stay tuned for more on Global.
Thank you for staying tuned and right on to Global Update. United States Department of State has issued a worldwide security caution advising American citizens to exercise increased vigilance while traveling or residing abroad. The advisory follows heightened tensions in the Middle East and growing concerns over potential security threats to United States interests and citizens in different parts of the world. The State Department said Americans overseas are encouraged to closely monitor local development, follow security guidance issued by the nearest United States embassy or consulate, and remain alert in public places. The advisory also warned that periodic airspace closures and disruptions to international travel could occur as a result of the evolving security situations. U.S. diplomatic facilities, including those outside the Middle East, have also identified as potential targets. The worldwide caution remains in effect until further notice, for the United States government urging its citizens to review travel plans, maintain situational awareness, and stay informed through official embassy communication while traveling internationally. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Bertha, the second named system of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season, is slowly tracking across the northern Gulf Coast, bringing heavy rainfall and gusty winds and dangerous coastal floodings. Despite facing hostile atmospheric conditions that have kept the storm lopsided, its extensive moisture flash is triggering severe flash flood threats along the Gulf Coast and into the mid-Atlantic region. Forming in the northern eastern Gulf of Mexico, Bertha has struggled to organize into a symmetrical cyclone due to a strong upper-level wind, shear, and persistent dry air. Meteorologists note that while near-record ocean temperature in the Gulf provided ample temporal energy, hostile upper-level winds displaced most thunderstorm activity to the south of the storm circulation center. As the storm moved past the Louisianian coastal line with maximum sustained wind to 45 to 60 miles per hour, it brought storm surge of 2 to 4 feet and localized flash flooding to coastal areas stretching from eastern Louisiana to Florida Panhandle. Despite Bertha's gradual weakening as it tracks towards Texas coast, meteorologists warn that its primary hazard remains its vast moisture corridor. The storm's tropical moisture is interacting with still cold front over the eastern United States, supercharging rainfall hundreds of miles away in the Carolinas and Virginias. Forecasters emphasize that while El Nino patterns have kept overall storm count lower this season, abnormally warm seas, surface temperatures continue to amplify rainfall, intensify, and flood risk across vulnerable coastal communities. to the United States and Saudi Arabia has signed a landmark civilized nuclear cooperation agreement establishing a 30-year multi-billion-dollar framework for nuclear energy development in the United Kingdom. Signed by the United States Energy Secretary Chris Wright and Saudi Arabia Energy Minister Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, the deal lays the legal foundation for American companies to export reactors, full service and technical expertise to Saudi Arabia. The pact, known as a Section 123 agreement, provides a legal framework that could allow Saudi Arabia to eventually enrich uranium on its own soil under a proposed joint U.S.-Saudi Arabia commercial framework. Unlike previous regional arrangements, such as the 2009 UAE Gold Standard Agreement, the deal relies on a tailored bilateral safeguard agreement rather than requiring Saudi Arabia to adopt the IAEA's enhanced additional protocol. United States officials emphasize that American personnel will build and oversee facilities without transferring sensitive enrichment technology, effectively locking readers into using U.S. supply chains while preventing Russia or China from dominating the kingdom's energy sector. The timing of the announcement has ignited intense debate on Capitol Hill and among non-proliferation experts, coming amid ongoing United States military operation targeting Iran's nuclear program. Critics warn that providing domestic enrichment pathway without full IAEA oversight risks setting a dangerous precedent and expanding regional proliferation risk. However, the Trump administration defended the agreement, maintaining that it enforces high safety standards, supports high-paying domestic manufacturing jobs, and preserves American influence over Saudi Arabia's long-term energy security. The agreement now faces a mandatory review period in Congress, where lawmakers could seek to challenge its terms. And that wraps up Global Update. Thank you for staying tuned. And that wraps up our bulletin here on Security News Panorama. I am Juliet Oura. Keep watching Third Eye Africa Television as we keep you updated on security matters.